What is good, YouTube? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my name is Patrick, and welcome back to my channel. I'm gonna be honest, I've been playing around with what to title this video. But basically, my complications in my story with that green, smelly, funky little plant that makes you feel good. I feel like I have quite a history, so I wanted to kind of explain my story along with my problems, what I kind of had to go through and deal with myself. So hopefully you can learn from my mistakes and maybe even help me, because I'm obviously not a professional or doctor or anything of that nature. So, yeah. Basically, we're going to start off with my story. So, this all kind of started out when I was about 18 years old, out of high school. I'm 22 years old now, if that gives you any reference. So around 18 years old, I'm just fresh out of high school. I was a good kid. Never great grades, because I never really loved school. But I was never a bad kid. I kind of had that cliche story of basically going throughout high school, telling everybody that I'd never drink, never smoke, never this, never that. And then as soon as I got out of high school, things kind of changed. And that's kind of what happened to me. So yeah, good kid out of high school. And then fast forward. So now I'm 18 and I had graduated. And I have a really good family friend of mine who lives in Massachusetts. So myself and my family would basically visit Massachusetts every year and see this family friend of ours, and hang out with them and basically visit them for about a week or so in Massachusetts. And on this fateful vacation week, my family friend had some of that green little funky shit, and asked if I wanted to partake. It was myself, my friend, and his best friend, who I now am very good friends with, but I didn't know him at the time. So they, at the end of the night, basically what happened is we all hung out as a family, and then at the end of the night, I stayed at their house, and my family left. So I'm hanging out with him. We're gonna give them names. I'm gonna say my family friend's name is Jack, and the family friend's best friend is Tyler. So from now on, Jack is my family friend, Tyler is his best friend, and then I am me, obviously. So Jack asked me if I want to partake because Tyler is coming over and they're probably going to go smoke that green shit, and I said I had never tried it before and that I'm not comfortable with it, but I will hang out with them. So that's what I did. I hung out with them, and they smoked and whatever. They rolled up a blunt, and I was watching them smoke it, and as they were getting higher and higher, they just getting funnier and funnier and laughing and telling each other about how high they were and all of these things. And honestly, from that very point in time, a switch kind of changed, because I thought bad people did these things. You know what I mean? Not good people like my friends. You know, good people can't be smoking weed. That doesn't make any sense. That didn't really compute in my brain at that point. But then a switch just flipped, and I was like, wow, that's kind of crazy. And it started making me think differently. And they went inside and we started watching the show. I think it was Catfished on MTV. If anybody knows Catfish, shout out. We watched Catfish and we were hanging out, and Tyler was like, "Oh, I have my dab pen." Like, oh shit, whatever. Jack was hitting it, Tyler's hitting it, and I'm like, "Fuck it, man, give it to me. It's my turn." And they, sit me down and explain all the things, and you gotta smoke it like this and hit it like this and hold it in for this long and blah blah blah. And basically I hit it. I never thought I was going to die, genuinely, until I hit a dab pen for the first time. I was straight up like, water, what? Like, I was straight up tweaking, bro. And then I never felt anything for the entire night. I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel high. I didn't feel whatever. And I was like, oh, am I high? And they're like, yo, trust me, bro. You'll know. So I never got high that first night. Long story short, we run back the exact same situation that we had last night, this night. And basically they were like, oh, we're going to smoke again, blah, 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 after all the family leaves. You want to smoke? And I was like, yeah, I do. So they roll up the blunt, and they're passing, I'm taking hits, and they're passing, I'm taking hits. And we basically walk downstairs to watch Catfish again, and all of a sudden, bro, I'm high, and everybody else is asleep. And let me tell you, man, it was a great first experience. Dude, it sold me. I was like, holy shit, this is sick. I was faced, to say the least. I went upstairs and made cereal and laughed at myself about how good it was. And I have some Snapchat memory recordings. So that was my first time. And I really had a good first time, After that, I didn't really smoke very much until basically the last month of college. I think I may have been 18, turning 19 at the time. And I was in my dorm room, pretty bored, and one of the guys in my room, it's like a block of rooms. If you've ever been in a dorm, you kind of know what I mean. There's another guy knocked on my door. Yo, I'm going to grab some stuff from the smoke shop. Any y'all want anything? And I was like, I want to try this again. I thought about it. I asked him to get some, and he did, and he brought it. And I basically it was a little dab pen. I remember the strain was Chem Dog, the Cali Bloom Chem Dog, the little Delta 8 shits. Delta 8 is a whole different story, to be honest. We can get into that another day. But yeah, got me high, put me through the last month of college, basically, and liked it once again. At this point in time, I had a girlfriend that was living with me, and I just graduated college at this point, and I had found somebody who consistently could get me weed. And at this point, when I turned around 19, I was living at my parents' home, and I was just smoking weed every single night. Basically just her and I hanging out, watching TV, whatever, playing video games, basically just being a 19-year-old out of college back home, not wanting to really grow up, smoking, whatever, playing video games, man. That's all I remember, was just work, smoke, video games, hang out with the girlfriend, and hang out with family, and like maybe friends sometimes. One thing about me, even though I was 18 when I first started smoking, none of my friends really smoked either, so I was the first one to really start that up. So even, my friends would come over and want to smoke with me because I was the weed man at that point. Not that I cared. I'm not saying that I was like offended by that or anything. I always offered it. I loved sharing the smoke, you know what I mean? And yeah, really just living life with weed as one of the things, I would think about it a lot. And then eventually, as I started going through life, I would start smoking, at the end of the workday. Maybe there was a couple hours left in the shift, and it was just like, I know how to close. I'll just hit this real quick. I know how to close. I know how to work while I'm high. Who cares, bro? And I would do that. It would work. At first, I had to teach myself how to. But I'd figure it out. So yeah, that was basically what happened while I was at home, right? All was good, all is well, life is good, smoking weed, living life, blah, blah, blah. So now, at this point in time, I'm 19 years old, thinking I need to change something in my life. I need to go somewhere. I need to do something. I'm feeling very bored. For those of you who know me, I grew up in a little town called Marco Island. Marco Island is a bubble, to say the least. I basically grew up with a safety net and that privilege of knowing that if I fucked up, I would have a place to go home to, in any sense, and I still do, and I'm very thankful of it. But I need you to keep that in mind. I always lived kind of carefree, I didn't really appreciate any of the things around me. And then I wanted to move to Canada. So that's what I did. I moved to Canada. I have dual citizenship. I'm not going to go into the logistics, but I wanted to live in Canada. So I did. I left. I dropped everything. I took my truck. I put everything that I owned in the back of my truck, and I up and left 2,000 miles away from home. And I was living life. And as I started living life, I realized that shit's hard. Shit's difficult when you don't got your family around to talk to every day. Shit's hard when you don't got your support system that you've always had and always known and always thought would be there. And that's when things kind of started taking a turn for me. I was still smoking, obviously. And shit, man. I don't really know when it was specifically, but I started getting really, really, really depressed. I think what I had already said was quite a catalyst to it, not having my family there, not having my friends. I was friendless. I was more or less no family, other than, calls and texts. And also, I was working a job that I really didn't know if I was going to have it the next day. Most days, I would go to work and I thought I'd lose my job. I wasn't very good at it. And I didn't really know how to, I was crumbling under the pressure, basically. And I'm 19 going on 20 now, living this life, being convinced that life is hard and it's never going to change. I was being convinced of this reality of you are always going to have to fight for money, and you are always going to have to fight for yourself, and I'm alone in this world. I had this weird idea of it, and I can't really pinpoint specifically why or when it happened, but it was just a culmination of being treated like shit in the workplace, basically treated like the bitch. I was 20 years younger than anybody on my line of work. I was in construction. If anybody knows construction, you know what I'm talking about. And to sum it up into one sentence, I had not lived real life until that point, right? And I was learning life, but I was learning under the influence. I was getting high as soon as I got home, every single day. It was perpetual. It was perpetual, man. I would get off work. I would go to work, think about how much I wanted work to end and how I just wanted to get high and forget about everything. I'd go home, smoke the biggest bowl of weed that I could, and then just sit there, and all I had, bro, was my thoughts. And at first it was okay, because it was like, I'll get over it, I'll deal with it tomorrow. I'll deal with whatever I'm thinking of tomorrow. But then I would start to, every day, it would get a little worse. And then I started to think, I'm not doing anything. I'm not going outside. I don't have any friends. It's been almost a year since I've lived here. I don't have friends. I don't got anything. I don't even have any money. I've been spending it all on fucking weed and shit. And what I'm trying to get at is I would literally just I would incapacitate myself immediately as I got home. And hindsight is 20/20. You'd be like, yo, Patrick, what the fuck, man? Just don't smoke weed for a day. But bro, that wasn't even like in my headspace. I don't even know if I thought that the weed was the problem. I would get so deep into this like stupid mental crisis where I would think, I would look at other people online, and they'd say that it helped with anxiety and it would help with depression and all of these things. And I'm now thinking to myself, weed has brought me all of these things. Weed has brought me anxiety. Weed has brought me depression. Like, what the fuck is the problem here? Why am I the problem? And I had dealt with this whole perpetual cycle, man. Going home, smoking weed, and then thinking about all the things I should have done, but I can't now because I'm high as fuck. And keep in mind also, I had a roommate at this point, and I would feel like she judged me every time that she'd come home too, because I would be high every time she'd see me. And it's me, it's my problem. I would think like she was not cool with weed, and she would look at me and be like, nah, you're high again. And it would just make me feel even worse about it. Just everything around me was just being shitty, and I would turn back to weed because I'd always think, when I'm sober, I would always think this is the fix, and then I'd get high, and then that was the opposite of the case. It would just make me feel shittier about myself. I remember multiple weeks, days. I remember multiple weeks, multiple days where I would get off work, do what I needed to do at home, which is usually do the dishes, do my laundry, and take a shower. I'd come outside and get in my truck because I couldn't smoke inside. And I lit the pre-roll fucking thing that I got, or I lit the pipe, or I lit the bong that I had. And I'd sit in my truck, and I'd get super high, and I would just fucking go slump. I would sit there and slump. And I would think of every single bad, horrible, stupid, depressing, sad thing that I've ever done in my life. And that was my life for a long, long, long time. And then I tried quitting, and it helped a little bit, but I always yearned for it. And then I came back to it, and then it happened again, and then I quit, and then I'd feel good a little bit, and then I'd feel like I needed to smoke again, and then it would be this cycle, right? Eventually I moved back to Florida. I left Canada. I realized it wasn't good for me for other reasons other than just weed. But I moved back home, and I started to, when I first moved back home, I was sober. I was sober for a while, and then eventually, as it does, started wanting to smoke again, and this perpetual cycle started happening again. But there was a difference. this time, I was at home. I had my family and support system. Mentally, I felt more secure. And then I was working at a new job where I had friends, where I had people that I related to, where I had people that when I looked at them, they were excited to see me. And I realized I had never had that before. And I would then go home after these days of feeling like I went to work and I had friends and I had a good conversation with people and I did well in my job, and I go home and I can talk to my family and all of these things. And then after that, I would smoke. And I would smoke and I'd think to myself, why do I feel not like shit? Why in Canada did I smoke and then think of all the bad things, but now I sit here smoking and I feel not good about smoking, but I would smoke and I'd feel like I used to feel nice and like my work day is over. You know, I would smoke and I'd feel like the day is over. And I'd realize that I would smoke after doing everything. I realized that there are times and places where you should do things sober, but there is a time at the end of the night where I can go and smoke. And I want to bring this whole story into a roundabout example. If you haven't already picked up what I'm trying to say, is in my experience, it was weed, it was THC. In your experience, it could be alcohol, it could be a different substance. But with me, I started to realize, and you will notice that I preach it every single time I make a video and talk about this stuff. Any substance you're doing doesn't bring you happiness. Substances are a tool. Substances are a tool to make you feel a specific or a certain way, and it doesn't change whether you're having a good or bad day. Weed is always still going to be weed. Alcohol is still always going to be alcohol. It's always going to make you the feelings and emotions that you've always felt. But in which the moment in time you take them, or the situations you put yourself in before, during, or after you take a substance, creates your experience per se. I've noticed that when I have a bad day and I smoke, I feel like I still had a bad day. But if I have a good day and I smoke, I feel like I've still had a good day. The way in which I want to, the way in which I've learned to utilize weed from then to now is, now weed is a tool that I use to make myself feel different, but not to fix things. I think people do substances a lot and think it's going to fix a problem. It never fixes a problem. You know, I don't know about alcohol, but weed specifically, I feel like if you do it in the right sense, in the right mindset, in the right space, it can help you. But you can't expect it to help you. You have to do it on your own. You have to create these thought processes and these journeys in your head before you do them. You can't just go, okay, weed, fix my problem. That's not what's going to happen. And that's what I thought was going to happen. What I can do is say, okay, weed, let's smoke at the end of the night, and let's just reflect. I feel weed is a very reflective drug in a lot of sense. It doesn't have to be, but you can definitely reflect and think a lot. I love to think while I'm high. I love to create new discoveries while I'm high. I like to do it while I'm sober too, you know. You can say the same thing about psychedelics, you know. Actually, psychedelics is a great example. You know, you would never take mushrooms and say, this is going to help me. That's not what you should do. You should go into it saying, I'm going to take these mushrooms. I have this problem. I'm going to try and work through it. See, you are as much a part of this problem as anything else. You know what I mean? I'm kind of going off topic, but long story short, man, I've had a lot of problems with weed. I've had a lot of problems with anxiety and depression and all of these bullshit things that come with it. And I want you to know that if you're going through this, you're not alone. If you're going through it, I think you should take a step back and think about what you're doing. I didn't really realize how bad it got until I took a step back and thought, what am I actually doing? What is my day-to-day? What am I doing? Because weed can really mesh every single day together, and you can really forget what happens every day. So this is a big reason why I'm recording my Patty Talks every single day, because it's hard to keep track of shit when you're high all the time, man. You kind of just act on emotion more than you act on other things, you know? But yeah, man, if you're going through this bullshit, man, take a day off. Think about it. Be more conscious about why you smoke. Be more conscious about, in this moment, why am I doing this? Because it should never be, I'm feeling like shit, I want to feel better. Oh, no. It's the wrong way to go about it. You know, you gotta really feel, you gotta figure out why. You gotta find your why. You gotta find out why you're doing the things you're doing. But yeah, man, I'm gonna kind of cut it off here. Hope you guys like my story. With that being said, also, I'm gonna go inside and smoke the biggest bowl ever and get real ripped, and then I'm gonna go do my laundry, and I'm gonna go do my dishes, and I'm gonna go clean the house. Okay? Because that's what I think I want to do. And that's totally cool. We're going through it, man. Every single day is a journey. All right, I'm not a fucking expert. I'm 22 years old, man. I'm sure that next year I'm going to have a completely different opinion on all of this stuff. But that's where I am. That's what I've figured out. Yeah, man. I don't want to make this too much longer. Hope y'all have a good one. I hope if you guys are feeling any type of way, or if this helped at all, yeah, man, I just hope it helped. I hope it helped somebody. I hope it maybe opened somebody's eyes. If you guys have any more questions, I have done a lot in terms of my journey throughout weed and addiction. I have a lot of stories with weed. I have a lot of stories with psychedelics. I have a lot of other just dumb stories with other dumb substances. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. If you guys want to hear any other stories, let me know. If you guys want to hear how I feel about something, let me know. Listen, man, you can do it. If you have nobody to talk to today, talk to yourself or talk to God. All right. I want you to be here with us. I appreciate you watching this video. You have a good one. I'm so bad at goodbyes when it comes to YouTube and outros and stuff. I gotta figure it out. But peace out, y'all.